Time for the newspapers now. Elena's with us again. She's turning her attention to the international ones. What are the main stories today then, Elena?
Hello, Stuart. Well, let's look at Bahrain first. A year on from when protests first broke out there. Have things improved? Well, no. If anything, they've gone backwards. That's according to the editorial at The National, saying the tough crackdown that happened in Bahrain turned what started as a broad-based protest movement into more of a sectarian conflict. The protesters there being mostly Shia, while the government is Sunni. And they say a year on the street, the scenes are depressingly familiar. Young protesters throwing firebombs at authorities. The government there appointed an American police chief to try and root out corruption, hoping that would calm down some of the demonstrators. That's not worked. They say it's had the opposite effect. And the only thing, they say reconciliation isn't impossible in Bahrain, but the only thing that could be done is if the government pays more attention to ethnic minorities' complaints and gives them a fairer access to jobs and education, instead of just trying to crack down on demonstrations. Unfortunately, they seem to be spending most of their time and attention quelling dissenting voices, the Bahraini government, certainly at least calling to the British Labour MP Dennis McShane, who's written in The Independent that the Bahraini government wrote a 17-page letter to British Foreign Secretary William Hague asking him to keep his MPs who are interested in the Bahraini question, such as McShane, quiet because they've been complaining about what's been going on there. McShane says he and a group of other MPs were trying to publicise the case of people like a 24-year-old Bahraini demonstrator called Yusuf al-Mwaleh, who was found arrested, tortured and dumped in the sea last week, apparently. But the Bahraini government has responded by trying to complain about them through the highest diplomatic channels. So,
how are they responding in Britain, then? Are they keeping quiet? Not according to The Guardian, I gather.
No, indeed not. So they say that a year on after this first was controversial, the Britain has not stopped selling arms to Bahrain. A number of papers on the left, like The Guardian and The Independent, made a fuss about this a year ago, saying that Britain should not sell arms to countries that repress their people. Unfortunately, nothing has changed. The paper says British firms sold £1 million worth of arms to Bahrain, including tank components and missiles and aircraft components in the last year, and another £1 million worth to Saudi Arabia, which also took an active part in repressing demonstrations in Bahrain. So they're not doing terribly well on ethical guidelines. They actually quote Vince Cable as saying, well, we have to sell arms to undemocratic regimes and people should understand that. Perhaps not a point of view that will go down very well with people like Human Rights Watch, who complain in the paper. The Guardian is also having a look at Libya, nearly a year on from when demonstrations broke out there today. That was on the 17th of February, their anniversary. And they say that the dictator's exiled son, Saadi Gaddafi, was saying this yesterday that there could be an uprising of loyalists to the Gaddafi regime this week, which might try and set off bomb attacks and otherwise cause chaos on the anniversary. And the paper points out there's a number of conflicts still going on in Libya, even though we've stopped talking about it. Some cities like Misrata have broken off completely from the NTC government. In Misrata, they're actually having their own election, totally separate to the rest of the country. And lots of people are complaining about the transitional government's lack of transparency.
Now, we've also had, of course, the Chinese Vice President, Xi Jinping, his visit to China. What are the newspapers making of that one, Elena?
Well, the two countries are building new foundations on strong cooperation. That's at least according to the China Daily, which of course is the country's state newspaper. They make everything sound wonderful between the two leaders, saying their trade relationship is the most healthy in the world, and they've both realised the healthy and sustainable growth of one economy is vital for the prosperity of the other. There they are on a kind of balancing act, which shows them as very equal partners, doesn't it? Just cheering their glasses of wine over that rather wobbly table. But things aren't quite so neutral and happy if you look at the Washington Post, which their top story today is about a US trade envoy being rejected for a Chinese visa, apparently because she wanted to meet members of religious minorities, including Catholics and Christian evangelicals, who protested outside the White House yesterday at Obama's refusal to address those issues.
And 15 seconds to mention a new theme park near Paris.
Yes, this is really good. Have you ever wanted to watch an underwater reconstruction of the Battle of Waterloo, or feel like what it would be like to be inside the Bastille while it was being stormed, Stuart?
One of my top things to do.
Well, thanks to a French MP called Yves Jégo, you might soon be able to. He's trying to set up a theme park dedicated to Napoleon in his constituency near Paris, where apparently you'll be able to watch all of that and more.
Eye patches and all. All right, thank you very much, Elena, here with the international papers here on Fox Bank.